Hello everyone, I'm Linda V. Taylor. Thank you for joining me today on The Best of Both Worlds. I am so excited today. I'm working on a quilt that belongs to me, one that I bought at the Houston show actually years ago, and I only paid $58 for it. It is amazing. The workmanship on it is crazy. It is the red cross-stitched quilt, and the design and everything is just so perfect. I'm so excited to have you watch me today as I make this into something special. Let's get started. Okay, now on my freehand, you can see I have all of the Statler areas are set and the computerized designs, and I'm so happy with them. But I do want to fill in a little bit more freehand. I'm going to start here where these points come together. I want something in between. And then I'm going to work my way over with freehand designs all the way over to the other side. I have decided I really like this space up here. I don't want to fill that in, so I'm going to leave that. We'll see how that looks when I'm finished. Okay, I'm just making a teardrop there, and then another one, and then another one. And you can see the feathers. These feathers are coming over like this, so I'm keeping these the same way. I'm just going into the areas, and this is just our long arm feather, and I'm just moving over like this. And at this point I'm going to go into the middle, so I'm going to come over here like this, make feathers, make a feather, just filling in this area. I'm in constant. It's nice and smooth for me. I love it. Certainly do that and regulate it as well. And then you see I'm right back where I was, just filling in and making little feathers there, and finish that feather. So now I'm going to come over to this area. I'm going to do some feathers along the bottom like this till I get to the other side. And now in this area I just did some echoes, and I want to make sure that they have a really nice curve on them. So I'm coming down a little bit and then like this. So they're the U echoes all the way down to this flower. And I'll follow this up. I think I want another one in there. There we go. And that puts me right over here. So I'll just fill in another feather there. And then I'll come around and fill this area in, very similar to what I did on the other side. I sort of count the feathers, make sure I have about the same amount. This is not, this is freehand, so you know, if I get an extra feather in there that I didn't have on the other side, that's okay for me. So now I will just do these feathers going this direction. And that puts me over there. I really like those little feathers the way they went in, just freehand feathers. There may not be the same amount here that there is here, but I love that. There's one little area here that I didn't catch. So I have just been sort of making a little daisy, just filling in the areas that need to be filled in like that, and then making sort of a texture dot right there. That finished the freehand on the outside. Okay, I have of course already set all of these fleathers in with the computer, and so I want to show you how I'm going to fill them in. I know that I have to fill them in halfway on this middle design. I'm going to fill them in halfway so that the entire thing gets filled out. So I'm going to start with this one right here in the corner. So this would just be a quarter of it, of course. And you can see I've already placed a couple of curls there, but I'm going to come up with some more curls just so you can watch me do it. I come in and then swing out, come back down, come in, swing out, and come back down. And I really like that. It kind of makes a heart design, as you can see. I love it. Okay, on this one, I am doing some leaves around. I like the feathers in here. I love the long arm pearls in this particular feather. I think it's really classic and stylish. So, but to fill in around the areas so that I don't have just blanks because I don't want them, I'm going to fill this one in with leaves. So all of these feathers are going to be filled in with designs around them. And maybe this will give you some ideas. So I'm going to come around here. As I come around, your leaves can be shaped, they just sort of have a curve on them. And really, you can't make a bad leaf. I always say somewhere in the world you'll find a leaf that looks like that. So don't worry about them. And that filled in all of my leaves. I'll go back to the center and stop. Around this one, I love this one. These feathers go together so nicely, and that's all filled in, all computerized. But then around it, I decided not to do fancy. I thought I would just do lines, but I wanted to show you if you start close to you and then work up, you can just use the foot width as your guide. And I am in regulated for this. I'm just going back and forth like this. Looks like I can put one more in there. There we go, and that's complete. I love that area because they are different angles, and this is nice and clean and looks very classic. Okay, since this feather is the only one on here that has, it was the 10 petal feather, and I just couldn't resist. So I put this on. By the way, I'm also doing freehand in the little circles, just whatever I feel like doing. But so I wanted to soften it a little bit by doing what I call the feathered curl. And I will show you how I do that. And then I'm also going to come up into the top area. So all of these curls are going the same way, so I just come up like this, go into the curl, and then reach out into the areas that I need to, like that with my feather. And then as I come up here, I'm going to do just a little one up here on the top, because this all needs to be filled in halfway. Oh, that's cute. Very nice. This feather is such a cute one. It's just those little daisies inside the feathers and just makes you happy. To set it off, first of all, I'm going to go around just with a little curl around here. And these aren't really close together. They're a little further apart than I usually do, but that's okay. And then I'm going to do some echoing in a V. So I'll just start here like this, come down, over, and when I get up here, so I'm approaching the center, and at the top I'm just going to put a little teardrop, and I really like that. I can drag my thread over here. I could also stop and cut it. I know that I will have some things to cut on the back, and I will cut them on the front while I'm here. And there we go for that one. Now that one is complete. Again, I just love this fleathers well. It has these tessellating hearts, and they're in a curve with other gentle curves. So I decided to continue the heart theme. So I'm just going to come up like this, and I'm going to make hearts at the top of them. And I can come out anywhere with more hearts. Sort of like you would with feathers, but they're hearts at the end. So cute. And that one is done. I love the way this feather just grew out of this wonderful cross stitch. And I really wanted that feather to show up, so I decided on this one, I'm just going to do the little swirl meandering. It's not really stipple because it's not that tiny, but I decided to do that all the way around. And you could do that, of course, stipple or meandering around any of these. It's just a little more interesting if you can think of an idea to kind of put around it that grows out of it. So you can see how quickly this goes. You can always echo in between. You can never get cornered because you can just echo your way out. And I am going up into some of the other areas in the middle design, which I'm not going to quilt in any way. I just want to leave it the way it is. Okay, this one is my peacock feather, and it is just outstanding. It has a beautiful design in the middle, and it just came out of these, again, this eight petal cross stitch design so well. So around it I decided to make, to do a little bit softer, make it a little softer. I'm doing the feathers around it. And I start, I'll bring up my thread, and this little point I just sort of kind of measured with my fingers. I came up that far with my fingers each time, and I just make a little half circle, and then I start my feathers. So there's my half circle, my feather over to that side. There we go. I'm going right up into the very top. Again, remember, I need to really come up and meet there. And I'm going to come back on this side, putting some feathers over here and coming over here like that. Then I'm going to come down. I'm going to double that little half circle and meet up with these feathers. I'm sure you can do them way better than I can, because you won't be filming and trying to do it one-handed. There we go. And I'm going to jump over here now and do the very same thing. And I am in constant. I'll fill in this area over here, come back down, make a double little arc. And there we have it. Let's take a look. This is actually the center of the quilt, and I really wanted it to be like outstanding. I love the area, the relief area that isn't quilted. I love the little pearls, and they came down each one of these lines. And I left the center open. I'm not going to do a design in there, but they really showed off again the cross stitching, the 8-petal cross stitching, and extended it out. And there's plenty of quilting here. This is computerized. These are my my Indian feathers. I call them my Indian feathers. And so they get really dense in the points, and I just love that. So I didn't need to do a lot, but I'm going to do my Linda's Egyptian curl around that. So let me show you how I do that. All right, I'm coming up like this. And I come into a curl and back down and a curl right on top of that other curl. And I can just reach out into the areas that need to be covered as I come down, back down along the edge. And I think I'll do one more right here close. You can do them right on top of what you've already done. Then we come up the other side, cross on top of that one. Isn't that fun? Oh, so fun. Pretty proud of this curl because so far no one's copied it that I know of. And so I really love it. And then I'm just going to do it again in this area. Come right up into the curl, right on top of itself and back into the areas where I need it to go. I may even turn my machine up a little bit. I'm in constant. And then let's do one right here. And on this side. You can see how fast you can fill in around these fleathers. You know, once I got the fleathers finished, I thought, oh great, now I have to do all that work. But it went so fast, it was like over before I was finished having fun. Oh, that is just beautiful for the center of this quilt. Just outstanding. I love it. This is the last one, and it's very different from the other fleathers that I have, and it actually forms a star in the middle of it. And so I just sort of did a half circle around here, and then I just put that in the middle just to top it off. But around the edges, I debated what I should do, and I decided I would just continue to do kind of similar to what's there. So what I'm doing is just the V and echoing and putting a curl at the end. So let me show you how I did that. And most of the time you probably wouldn't even need to do this because that just can fill up any area. You see, I'm just doing these to fill in the area, really. And then I'm putting a curl there and coming right over into the next area. Again, you can see how fast it goes. Awesome. This will be the last. And you can fill in an area when you're there. You don't have to continue to put my little thing there. And then over here. Boy, this freehand just topped this quilt off. I'm telling you, it's just amazing. Looks like we need our little curl right there. Okay. Notice the star in the middle that it creates. And you could put another computerized design in the middle of that design. And it does come with different petal amounts. So, it's awesome. Good pattern. Well, first of all, on this quilt, I noticed, you know, I do have quite a wide border out there. And I wanted this to be very delicate and intricate quilt, but I knew I was going to do a lot of feathers on the quilt. I didn't want a feather border necessarily. So I use this, it's a carved wood pattern that I made for, I made the pattern for another quilt, but I just love it. And it has some open areas as well, and I knew that there would be some open areas I would leave on the quilt. So I think it really worked out well. Here's what it looked like on the computer. This is one of the corners, but this one isn't completely straight. It's just a corner. I really like it, but it doesn't have as much on it. So I'm going to move that over there. This is the corner that I used, and the border, and they just go together so beautifully, like that. And of course they're just pieces. This is 3 of them. And so that went in this area here that's underneath the trim right now. And then this is the piece of the Baltimore album, and I put them together so you can see how they went together. When I was doing, coming along with the border here, I made sure that I would take the line all the way across right in between the flowers, so that when I moved this in, it would fit perfectly. You can see right there on those lines. This other little piece is completely separate, and let's just flip it really quick. Flip it vertically, and it just went right underneath here so beautifully. So I just put those 2 together in the pattern, and you can see it just sewed all the way across here, and then sewed these, and that's when I did my little freehand on that part. And then the other border went in right up here where the trim is right now. So this part is called the undersashing. It's 2252, and the other little part, 2252, is the scallop teardrop curve. Easy to do. Okay, so when I was looking for fleathers, oh, there's that one that makes a star. You can see it right there. And it is also right here. I love that one. But I love all of these, so I was just pulling them over to decide, and it just looked like a snowing or something, all snowflakes or flowers. So beautiful. And so I would just move those into place, and I went along and made sure that the centers were marked exactly, and then I could just trim out the half where I didn't need it, or the quarter. On some of those corners I would just trim out the corner. So sewed those right in with those flowers. So wonderful and so easy. And they just, those 8 petals just worked out so fabulous. There's just so many different ones that will go just perfect for whatever project I'm working on. Here's another look at the actual corner and border that I placed, and then also placing those that little triangle pattern in here. And I put a lot of patterns up on the screen when I'm working, just because I guess because I love them and I like looking at them. But that's what it looked like before I started sewing. I had it all planned out that way. This is interesting because this is what it looked like on the side. Because I have a 30-inch machine, I could actually stitch this out down the side as I came. And there were only 2 on each side, but and they were placed exactly where they needed to be, so I didn't have to worry, am I going to run out of quilt, or it's going to be too big. So I did those sideways. Here are the little patterns that we digitized for this quilt. Exactly right with the embroidery and little curl. So they show off the embroidery, and that's how they were placed. I just made sure I had a cross exactly where they needed to go in the middle. So easy stuff. The next area that I was concerned about was, you know, these areas of the cross stitch. And you can see what this looked like before it was quilted from this picture. So you have to kind of imagine, and I thought, again, from my Baltimore album, I had these patterns digitized, and I thought, why don't I just use those? They're awesome. I did not have the corner figured out at this point, so I didn't worry about it. That's just kind of my personality. I know a lot of people do a lot of planning, but I just do what works, and then I keep going, and the ideas seem to come to me. So this worked out really well in between each of these, and then my husband digitized this little pattern for me, and then of course the rest is freehand. So this pattern is also a digitized one that I just found a triangle there to fill in with the feathers, and I love that. Once I got these Baltimore album patterns put in that I had made for the Baltimore album, then I have the corner, and I realized I could just come across like this, and I could use, I used 2 triangle patterns. They're different, but I like them both. And then I had just a square area left, so I found another cute little feather pattern. And I like this one because it has the texture dots in it, so it adds a little bit more interest. And it also matches the feather that I used in the triangles because it has the texture dot, and that is built in to that pattern. So it's really interesting. The rest, of course, was freehand that I filled in around. I wanted to outline all of these flowers that are in the middle of the main design of the cross stitch. And so I drew one out, and my husband digitized it so that it would really go well in there, and it was fast for me to do. 8-petal design. As you look at the picture of this unquilted, you probably see what I saw, and that was a lot of white, you know, and these big white areas around the little bit of a cross stitch in the middle. And so first I'm thinking of a feathered wreath around there or whatever, and that would have been really pretty and very traditional. But you know what? I just couldn't do that. So I thought about all of my fleathers, and I couldn't just pick one feather. And a feather, by the way, is a feather flower. And I have a lot of them, and they have 4 and 6 and 8 and 10 and 9 and 7 petals, all of them, because I use them and I need them, and I have them. I can make them into squares or circles or whatever I want, and you can see how I can fill them in around with freehand as well. So I decided I'd just layer that right on top of that 8-petaled feather in there, and so that's what I did. And I want to show you all the choices I had here on my computer. My goodness, it was really hard to choose. I just put a bunch up there and then just kind of chose my favorites and went with that. So I love the variety and not having any of them the same. Every single one of them on this quilt is different, and that's kind of me. And since it's my quilt, well, I can do that. 3 days later, and I am so pleased. I'm always pleased when I get a quilt finished, but I love looking at the variety of feathers on this one. It just wouldn't be the same if it was all the same thing. I can't imagine whoever made this top, the hours that they spent doing it, and I wish they could see it finished the way I finished it today. I did use Linda's Choice because I wanted it to be really crispy white, and I wanted it to just have that kind of show look. So that's Linda Choice batting by Hobbs. And I also put Minky on the back, which probably I may be the only person in the world that would do that. But oh, it's so beautiful on the back as well. And so thank you so much for watching. I hope you get as excited about your projects as I get excited about mine and about my customers. See you next time.